Welcome to the FedLife podcast with Dan Sipe from Serving Those Who Serve. In this podcast, Dan draws from years of financial experience to help federal employees overcome challenges that every Fed can relate to. Join us for this journey as we reach, teach, and serve to help you make the right financial decisions. Now, on to the show.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the FedLife podcast. You've already guessed who I am. I'm your host, Dan Sipe, back again. Additionally, I'm the branch manager here at Serving Those Who Serve, Sipe and Associates. I will say and begin, as I always do, by saying thank you. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and thank you for your service. Thank you for service to the country. Thank you for service to me. You are the people that hold everything together, and you do not hear thank you enough. You will always hear it here. You will also hear, and he's with me once again, Ed Zurndorfer. The guru is back once again as part of our ongoing mission to reach, teach, and serve you. And at the outset, I need to say that the opinions of our guest, Ed Zurndorfer, no matter how awesome they are not the opinions of Raymond James or Serving Those Who Serve. And this podcast is presented for information only and is not meant to be taken as advice. All listeners should consult their personal advisors before taking any action. And if you don't have a personal advisor, hit us up at Serving Those Who Serve. That's scwserve.com. We will help you any way we can. If you're a regular listener, you know we try to follow Ed's FedZone articles. One more way to reach and teach. And I will remind you again that you can also subscribe to our weekly serving. We'll deliver the best of Ed, Jennifer Meyer, Benefits Ben, straight to your inbox. If you go to our website, scwserve.com, there's a pop-up. You will also see a button associated with this on our YouTube channel to be able to sign up. So at this time of year, we tend to turn our attention to open season and FEHB. And for this cast, we are zeroing on what I consider to be some of the most misunderstood and underutilized benefits. And those would be healthcare spending accounts and healthcare FSAs. So, Ed, first up, what's an HSA? What's a healthcare spending account?
A health savings account is, I like to say, sort of jokingly here, it's a flexible spending account on steroids. Okay. And the reason I'm saying that is, and I like to just do the following analogy. When someone contributes to a traditional deductible IRA, what are they doing? They're putting a certain amount of money, the maximum possible in some cases, or less than maximum, each year, using pre-tax dollars, money that has not been taxed, into this account, in which the contribution they're making, the reason it's pre-tax is they're getting a deduction
Gotcha.
on their taxes. It's called an adjustment to one's income. So right now, for example, in 2022, if a person's eligible to contribute to a deductible IRA and they're under age 50, we're talking about $6,000 is the maximum, $6,000 going into this traditional IRA. And that $6,000 reduces their gross income. So if their gross income is $100,000 before the contribution, now their adjusted gross income is reduced down to $94,000. And now this IRA account participant will get earnings inside. They invest the IRA whatever way they want to invest it. Maybe in a bank account, maybe in a brokerage account, getting dividends and capital gains. It's growing. And all these earnings, by the way, are growing tax deferred.
Gotcha.
The contributions we're talking about have not been taxed. So what is the downside? What is the downside of this traditional IRA? When you take the money out, you're going to pay tax on it. You're going to pay tax on the contributions as well as all those accrued earnings, normally after age 59 and a half. That's the earliest age you can take money out of your traditional IRA and not be subject to a 10% early withdrawal penalty. Okay, we'll assume that's the case. The person takes that after age 59 and a half. Okay. Now, there's a different type of IRA, Dan, called a Roth IRA. What is that all about? With a Roth IRA, the money you're contributing has already been taxed. already taxed. So if someone decided, I want to put $6,000 into my Roth IRA for 2022, there are other some requirements that I'm not going to get in. There are income limitations I won't get into. Let's assume they are eligible to contribute to a Roth IRA. The $6,000 is going to go into this Roth IRA account. The individual also, the Roth IRA also is getting earnings, dividends, interest, capital gains, and they're growing. Now, nothing's been taxed yet, except the contributions. The earnings have not been taxed. Now comes the sweet thing. When you take money out of that Roth IRA after age 59 and a half, everything coming out is going to be tax-free. You pay no tax. The only thing you pay tax on were the original contributions. The contributions have grown, and that growth in the contributions, those earnings, are not going to be taxed.
Gotcha.
So what's this have to do with HSA? The HSA offers what's called the trifecta tax benefit. What do I mean by trifecta? Put the money in, you're getting tax savings. You're saving on taxes the year you put the money in. The earnings that you are accruing are growing tax-free. And the withdrawals, if they're what they call qualified withdrawals, are tax-free. You're getting tax savings on the front end, and you're getting tax savings on the back end.
Gotcha.
And in between. So that is why I call an HSA, it's a combination deductible, traditional IRA, and a Roth IRA.
Sure.
Has everything there. Now, there are other requirements, which I'm sure we're going to get into here in a few moments. But to me, these HSAs are so important for some people for the simple reason that they're going to have healthcare expenses.
Sure.
They're going to have other expenses related to healthcare. For example, we talked about in previous podcasts about Medicare Part B.
Sure.
You have to pay a monthly premium. We're going to talk about all the things you can pull money out of that health savings account tax-free to pay for your medical, dental, and vision expenses.
Sure.
And certain insurance plans, you can take the money out of your HSA tax-free to pay the insurance premiums that normally you pay with after-tax dollars.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's start talking about some of the rules and regs with it. Number one, a high deductible health plan is required, correct?
Yes. One of the requirements to be enrolled in a high deductible, in a health savings account, to be able to, let me emphasize the word, enable to contribute to an HSA. One of the requirements is you have to be enrolled in what is called a high deductible health insurance plan. Every year, the IRS sets the limit, what is considered to be high deductible. For 2022, someone who has a self-only coverage, they're only covering themselves, they would have to enroll in a health insurance plan that has a minimum deductible of $1,400. That's the deductible for the year. For 2023, it goes up to $1,500.
Gotcha.
Someone who is enrolled in a health insurance plan that offers an HSA, and they have self plus one or self and family coverage. In 2022, their minimum deductible is going to be $2,800.
Gotcha.
2023, it goes up to $3,000.
Okay.
Now, people they say to me, "Oh, that's a high deductible. Ooh, I don't know if I can afford that." Another aspect of your about being enrolled in this high deductible health insurance plan is that there is a cap, an annual cap, out-of-pocket expense that you have to pay before the HSA will pay for everything. You get reimbursed for everything. every year, IRS sets what that maximum amount of the cap is. Self-only this in 2022 was $7,050.
Sure.
For self and family, self plus one or self and family, 14,100. For 2023, it goes up to 7,500 self-only and 15,000 for self plus one, self and family.
Gotcha. And if we're in one, we can use it until we enroll. We can participate and contribute to it until we enroll in Medicare, correct?
Yeah, actually, you can contribute to it any year as long as you are enrolled in a high deductible health insurance plan. Now, this is very important because if you decide one year you want to be able to contribute to your HSA, and you do in fact enroll in a high deductible health insurance plan, and they are offered to the Federal Employee Health Insurance Plan. There are several plans to offer high deductible health insurance plans that you could enroll in, and you try it out for a year, and you say, I really spent a lot out of pocket. I don't know if this is really worth it. So the next open season, you decide, I'm going to drop out and go into a non-high deductible health insurance plan. I want to go to a regular fee-for-service plan that has a much lower deductible.
Gotcha.
Any money that you put in your HSA in the previous year stays with you. You just you cannot contribute to that HSA anymore. So that's one thing. That's one fact that individuals have to be aware of. They have to always be enrolled in a high deductible health insurance to contribute to it. Can they have a high health insurance health plan in retirement? And the answer is actually yes, provided they are enrolled while they are retired in a high deductible health insurance plan.
Okay.
But there comes a point that they are no longer eligible to contribute to an HSA after they retire.
Gotcha.
When they enroll in Medicare, they are no longer able to contribute to their HSA. So at that point, it doesn't pay to stay in a high deductible health insurance plan. Might as well go to a fee for service. We talked about this earlier about being enrolled in what's called a Medicare supplement plan offered to the FEHB, your regular FEHB insurance. You just can't put any more money you can't contribute any more money into your HSA, but you can withdraw from your HSA in retirement.
Sure.
Like I said a few moments ago.
No, that makes sense.
If someone who's a federal retiree is over 65 and they're paying Medicare Part B premiums, let's say they're paying $150 a month, Dan, for Medicare Part B, and they have money in their HSA account, they can request from their HSA custodian, I'd like to get a check for $150 a month. That's what, about $1,800 a year. You take that money out of my HSA and reimburse me for that monthly premium I'm paying for Medicare Part B. Hey, that's pretty good.
Sure.
And remember that withdrawal from that HSA, Dan, is tax-free.
Gotcha. And getting back to our rules and regs here, there is a maximum for annual contributions, correct?
That's correct. And the IRS sets that limit too for 2022, self-only, $3,650. Self plus one or self and family coverage, $7,300 maximum contribution. 2023, it goes up for self-only, $3,850. And for self plus one self and family, $77,750. And there's a bonus here. If you're over age 55, you get to contribute an extra $1,000 into your HSA.
Nice. And as you touched on before, if we use it for qualified medical expenses, it comes out tax-free. You've touched on a couple of them, but you said there is a list. So why don't you give us some examples?
Let me go to the list here. Okay. that includes co-payments, co-insurance. It includes prescription drugs. It includes medical equipment. I just went through the Medicare Part B monthly premium. Here's one many people don't think about. Long-term care insurance premiums.
Sure.
If you're enrolled in a long-term care insurance plan, like I am, my wife and I enrolled in the federal long-term care insurance, we're paying a hefty amount for our premiums. I think between the two of us, we're paying about almost $4,000 a year, $4,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe we just want to, I'm not sure. I forgot that. I think it's closer to 6,000 when we put of us I think together 6,000. Well, here's the point. Those premiums that we pay for long-term care insurance, once again, are paid with after-tax dollars.
Gotcha.
If I had an HSA, I could request reimbursement for those long-term care insurance premiums. Remember, money coming out of HSA is all pre-tax, and it's not going to be taxed if it's taken out to reimburse me for these qualified medical expenses.
Sure.
Now, when you reach 65, you actually can take money out of your HSA and use it to pay for anything.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to have to pay federal and state tax on those because it's not being used for qualified medical expenses.
Okay. Gotcha. So I'm assuming we need to keep pretty good records on this.
You know, it's very interesting that I think eventually we're going to be talking about the healthcare FSA.
Yep. That's up next.
But no one is really, there's no real, when you request, let's say, money from your HSA, you to contact the custodian.
Mm-hmm.
The custodian is not going to say, now, you're sure these expenses you're taking the money out are qualified? They're not monitoring this.
True.
You have to keep good records for one reason. Yes, they are tax-free. They are tax-free taken out.
Mm-hmm.
And when you take the money out of your HSA custodian will be sending you in January, following year you took the money out, a form.
Mm-hmm.
It's an IRS form.
Yep.
And that IRS form is a 1099-SA. And let's say you took out $4,000 from your HSA in a particular year. So that 1099-SA will say $4,000 withdrawal. Doesn't say where it goes to, whether it's qualified money. It just says you took out $4,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the HSA administrator reported.
Right.
Who gets a copy of that HSA?
I'm going to bet the IRS.
You're right, Dan. And what is the IRS going to do with that 1099-SA?
They're probably going to hang on to it until they audit somebody.
And if they audit somebody, what's going to happen?
They're going to say, hey, what'd you use this for?
Exactly. Hey, I had this 1099 SSA. Do you have a record? Do you have a record of what you took out of your HSA and what you spent it for? Maybe. Maybe? Well, I'm sorry. If you have no records, I can't allow it.
Gotcha.
I'm going to disallow this $4,000 tax withdrawal, which means you're going to have to pay tax on that $4,000 you took out of your HSA. And if you're under 65, not only do you have to pay federal and state tax on that $4,000, but a 10% early withdrawal penalty.
Ouch.
So please, you need to keep records.
Sure. No, that's a great tip. Now, one thing that you, when you round out your article, you talk about the HSA account balances, and your first one I think is really, really important, and everybody misses this, and that is just because you had medical expenses in a year doesn't mean you're required to take money out for them. Mm-hmm. So, and folks, this is what makes this one of the best kept secrets. You have the ability to let this continue to accumulate without being taxed. And you also have the option, a lot of people don't know this, to set up investment sub-accounts. So you could certainly have it earning interest, but you also have the ability to set it aside, investing in index mutual funds, things like that, whatever else might be available. And again, this is not an investment. This is not an investment advice. Want to stress that. Just making sure people know this. So if somebody starts out with a health savings account earlier in their career and they're putting away $7,000 or more every year because they have a family, this can build up to a lot of money over time if you allow it to grow. And one strategic point that we like to make is, when you reach retirement, are you going to have more or less income coming in? Typically, it could be less. Are you going to have more or less in medical expenses? Typically, it could be more. So having a big pile of money that you built up over the course of your career that now can come out tax-free for those qualified expenses is a pretty powerful retirement planning tool. So Ed, I love that you let off with that there's no requirement to pull it out. You can let it grow. Number two, you talk about the beneficiary rules. Tell us about that.
Okay, so if a HSA owner, someone who has this account that's been building up over time, they're not using all of it, it continues to grow. There's no use or lose rule here, ladies and gentlemen. Any money that's there will stay there from 1 year to the next into retirement. But when the HSA owner dies, hopefully they've named a beneficiary. It's like an IRA. You name a beneficiary. Well, the HSA fills out the beneficiary form, and let's say the beneficiary is the HSA owner's spouse. The spouse will then inherit the HSA, whatever's left in there, and the spouse can use that just like the owner did. That is, for his or her medical, dental expenses, any expenses. But once that spouse dies and any money's left over, anybody else, again, let's say children, siblings, who are the beneficiary whatsoever, they must take the money out of that HSA in its entirety. They will have to pay federal and state tax with no penalty, no 10% withdrawal penalty, but they cannot use it for themselves. That's the point.
Gotcha. And number three, you point out that any qualified medical expenses that you're paying from the HSA have to be incurred after the HSA was set up. You can't go back in time.
That's correct. So if somebody, let's say, Dan, let's say somebody is going to be enrolling in a high deductible health insurance plan during the current open season. The current open season is over on Monday, December the 12th. And anybody who changes their health insurance plan, enrolls in a new plan, whatever it is, let's say a high deductible health insurance, coverage is not going to take effect until January 1st, 2023.
Gotcha.
So your new plan, including your high deductible health insurance plan, will not take effect till January 1st, 2023. And then at that point, your HSA will start being funded. The way it's being funded is a part of the premiums that you're paying, the FEHB premiums, which you contribute, and also your agency puts in most of that money, they're paying about 72 to 75% of the premiums. A part of their contribution premiums will be automatically put into your HSA. It's being funded that way. And here's what individuals have to know about this setup. Number one, if this is your first year that you have an HSA, you cannot go back to 2022 or earlier and say, I'd like to get reimbursed for those expenses I incurred before January 1st, 2023. No, you can't do that, because before January 1st, 2023, you did not have that HSA. It's only going forward from the time you're enrolled in this high deal health insurance plan and being able to contribute to your HSA. That's the first thing individuals have to be aware of.
Sure.
Number two, here you set up your HSA. You're enrolled in a high deal plan. You're putting money's going into your HSA, and let's say during the third week of January, you incur a major expense. Your dentist calls you up and says, "Guess what? When you came for your checkup a couple of weeks ago, I note that you're going to need some root canals.
Ooh.
You're going to need 4 root canals. Are you hurting, Dan? 4
Yes.
root canals?
Yes.
Okay. It's going to cost you $3,000.
Ouch.
A lot of money. Can you use your your HSA to take money out of it, to take money out of your HSA to pay for the cost of the root canals? Yes, but only under one condition, that you have at least $4,000 in your account at that time. We are going to talk about very shortly about the other type of healthcare flexible spending account. It's called a healthcare FSA. That's different. There are differences between the HSA and the healthcare FSA. Probably the biggest difference, in my opinion, with the healthcare FSA is that with the healthcare FSA, which you're funding every 2 weeks from your paycheck, you don't have to have that money, the amount of the money of that expense in the account at the time you incur the expense. You can you can get advanced the money.
Wow.
Which is not the case with the HSA.
Sure.
So you need to be aware of that.
That's a great point. And Ed, once again, you've set me up with a great segue, because your next article is debunking healthcare flexible spending account myths and why every federal employee should own an HCFSA. Well, number one, if my compliance department is listening, we're not making a recommendation here. And wow, that's a mouthful. So you open with the position that only a small portion of feds do an HCFSA.
Yeah, and I was when healthcare FSA started by the federal government. It was called the FedFlex program. The FedFlex program. It started back in 2003 when I was a federal employee, and I jumped on it.
Sure.
Once again, there are 2 types of healthcare two types of flexible spending accounts offered in the FedFlex program. One is a healthcare FSA, and the other is a dependent care FSA. That takes care of child and dependent care expenses. We are talking now strictly about the healthcare FSA. And the reason I jumped on this opportunity to enroll in a healthcare FSA is one simple fact. Dan, there is no health insurance plan out there. There is no dental insurance plan out there. There is no vision insurance plan out there that pays for everything.
Gotcha.
You, as an individual, and you have a family, you have, for your health insurance plan, let's concentrate on health insurance. You have deductibles. You have out-of-pocket costs, such as co-payments, co-insurance. Some expenses your health insurance plan does not cover. Your dental plan. In my now going on 30 years as an insurance broker, I have a life and health insurance license. Maybe you can help me here. I have never come across a dental plan that impresses me.
Yeah, that's true.
And you know what the main reason is, Dan, about that? The whole idea of insurance is it's transfer of risk. You're paying a relatively small amount of money called premiums to protect yourself against a financial catastrophe. When it comes to dental care, yeah, you may have a major expense like root canals, like crowns, bridges, orthodontics. But there's no health insurance, no dental insurance plan in the world that's going to pay everything.
Gotcha.
You're going to have something out of pocket.
Sure.
Here's my point. It's not a matter when it comes to your health, when it comes to your medical, dental, and vision care, of what you're going to have to pay out of pocket. It's not a matter of that. It's a matter of how much and what is the best way to pay those, what I call right now, increasing out-of-pocket costs, expenses when it comes to your healthcare are going up. Deductibles are going up.
Sure.
Co-insurance. I can remember when a deductible was maybe $10, $15. I'm serious. I remember.
Oh, absolutely.
I remember when co-payments used to be $5 to $10. That's how far back I go. Now, a deductible, you're lucky if you get a deductible under maybe $100 to $200. Might be as much as $1,000. I remember when co-insurance was maybe 10%. Now it's like 25%.
Sure.
So it's all going up. And what is the best way to pay those out-of-pocket costs?
Pre-tax.
Now I'm going to put on my tax hat, Dan.
Yep.
Either you're going to use after-tax dollars or pre-tax dollars.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to share with you one example. This is my classic example when I was talking about healthcare FSAs. And I say, here's the example. Suppose you have a $20 copayment. A $20 copayment you owe the doctor.
Yep.
Okay. And let's suppose you are in a combined 40% tax bracket. When I say combined, I am including, Dan, federal income tax, state income tax, Social Security tax.
Yep.
That's the FICA tax, 6.2%. And I'm going to include Medicare Part A, the hospital insurance tax, which is 1.45%. Somebody is in a 22% federal tax bracket. They're in an 8% state tax bracket. Here we go. We're up to 30%, Dan.
Yep.
What is FICA? 6.2?
Yep.
What's Medicare Part A? 1.45?
Yep.
We are very close to 38%.
Yep.
Let's round it up to 40%. So here is my question that I ask individuals who are attending this healthcare FSA. Back then it was seminars, now it's webinars.
Yep.
You owe the doctor $20.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're using after-tax dollars to pay the doctor, that $20 copayment, okay? What that means is, in order to end up with a net $20, that means after all these taxes are taken out, you would have to earn, your gross would have to be, bear with me one here, 1 second, bear with me here, a total of $33.
Gotcha.
How did I come up with that? Because 40% of $33, that means approximately $13 worth of taxes will net you $20.
$20.
And he said, what's the big deal? How about if I said to you, how would you like to earn $20 and use all $20 to pay your doctor? Oh, that sounds good. It means I don't have to pay tax on $20. No, because that $20 has been put into your healthcare FSA before all taxes. It's been deducted from your gross salary, and you take it out tax-free to pay for that qualifying medical expense. I surely would rather earn $20 and pay the doctor rather than earning $33 and taking all those blasted taxes out of there and ending up with a net 20. That's the whole idea of the healthcare FSA.
Gotcha. Okay. So let's press on to the myths that you're dispelling.
Yeah.
And myth number 1 revolves around COVID relief for use or lose it.
Yes. Dan, if you recall, when COVID was pretty bad,
a
lot of people were not in good shape.
Sure.
They were incurring some expenses, the masks and the they're getting, well, they were buying lots of soap, in order to make sure their hands were clean, the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a change. There was a temporary change in the code, because normally with a healthcare FSA, you have a use it or lose it situation. What do I mean by that? When you set aside the amount of money you want to put in your healthcare FSA, and you would do that right now during the open season, this would be for year 2023. You have what's called a use or lose situation. If you do not use up all the money that's been set aside in your healthcare FSA account by the end of the year, December 31st, you're going to lose that money. You're going to lose that money. So in late 2020, before all the vaccines started, there was a change in the law. And the change in law said that someone who sets aside money in their healthcare FSA for the year 2021, and by the way, the limits were raised just for that year significantly. They went up to more than just a couple $1,000s. They went up to like $4,000 or $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
They said that we're not going to impose a December 31st, 2021 deadline.
Gotcha.
Okay? We're going to let you carry any excess funds over to 2022. So that was the deadline. Now, some people said, oh, that was a permanent extension. You had forever to spend that money. Not true.
Got it.
Not true. The spending deadline for those 2021 funds will, in fact, be December 31st, 2022.
Gotcha.
I just want to say that OPM did not adopt that healthcare FSA spending deadline. Okay, but the important thing is that deadline extension was only temporary. Now there is a partial carryover of funds. As I said a few moments ago, it used to be that you had a spending deadline in general of December 31st of that year to spend your money. But in 2015, the law was changed, and IRS said the following: you can make one of two choices regarding the healthcare FSA. Your administrator who runs your FSA can offer you one of two choices if you have any leftover funds.
Gotcha.
On December 31st. First choice is, we'll give you another 2.5 months to March 15th of the following year to spend that money. That's the first choice. The second choice is that we will allow you to carry over no more than $500 in your healthcare FSA account, as the balance as of December 31st is no more than $500, can be carried over into the next plan year. And you can spend that money during the next plan year.
Okay.
That $500 extension amount was indexed to inflation. So, for example, this year, Dan, anybody who's enrolled in their healthcare, in a federal healthcare FSA, and OPM adopted that provision, anybody who is enrolled in a healthcare FSA offered through the FedFlex program can carry over $570 maximum into the 2023 leave year. I just want to mention, though, that if someone is going to use that extension, that amount of money to carry over 2023, and they decide, well, I'm only going to use that money for 2000. I'm not going to put any new money in it. I'm not going to re-enroll into the healthcare FSA for 2023.
Right.
They have to still re-enroll for 2023 just to take advantage of that extension.
Makes sense.
Okay. So that's myth number one.
Well, actually, you kind of did myth 2 there, Ed.
Yeah, I actually carried over to myth 2.
Yep. Yeah, you got a twofer on that one.
I got a twofer.
So press on to myth 3, and that is that eligible expenses are pretty limited.
Yeah, some people think that the amount of their choices, what they can use, what they can pull out of their healthcare FSA is limited. Well, I beg to differ. Okay, I beg to differ. Number one, for medical expenses. You can use, for example, besides those co-payments and deductibles and co-insurance that you have to pay out of pocket, you can use your FSA. Here's a sort of a partial list of what you could use it for. Try massage therapy, prescriptions, diabetes, testing supplies,
Sure.
wheelchairs, walkers, hand sanitizer.
Wow.
Okay. Birth control pills. Okay. In vitro fertilization.
Wow.
I've gotten this question. I met with a couple. They're both federal employees, and they're trying to find a federal health insurance plan that will pay for them, that'll help them, the woman get fertile.
Sure. Yep.
Dan, this is very expensive. I know that my own family. We helped one of our kids, and this was 6 years ago.
Gotcha.
Well, the cost of that was well over $20,000.
Sure.
Well, I found out, and they found out, there's really no federal employee health insurance plan that pays for in vitro fertilization. They have to pay it out of their pocket. And they're asking, what can we do to help us pay for these treatments? I said, one thing is putting money in your healthcare FSA.
Gotcha.
Because you can use that money every year, pre-tax, to pay for the cost for the fertilization treatments.
Sure.
Now, this year for 2023, you can put a maximum of $3,050 into your healthcare FSA. They say, well, that's not a lot of money. Our treatments are a lot more. Well, I realize that, but it's a start.
Absolutely.
It's a start.
Sure.
And they said to me, we're both federal employees. I said, wonderful. You each can put $3,050 into your own healthcare FSA. So that's a total of $6,100.
Right.
You can use it for sunblock.
Okay.
Okay. And here's something interesting for transportation costs. You can get reimbursed for your trips to the doctor, to the dentist, to the ophthalmologist, to the optometrist. It's called medical mileage. I think it's like 14 cents a mile.
Interesting.
You can get reimbursed for your parking costs.
Wow.
Not for speeding tickets, though. Sorry.
No. You can never write those off, Ed. We know that already.
Okay. So, I think I just want to mention something about this. Is back to getting related to myth number 3. Some individuals have heard that the only thing their healthcare FSA will pay for is out-of-pocket dental and vision expenses, and the reason they're saying that because there is what's called a limited expense healthcare FSA.
Gotcha.
That is the same thing as the healthcare FSA, but it only will reimburse for out-of-pocket dental and vision expenses.
Okay.
Now, who is that for? We were talking about the health savings account, the HSA. One cannot be contributing both to an HSA. They're enrolled in a high deductible health insurance plan, and they're contributing to their health savings account.
Gotcha.
They also then cannot be contributing to their healthcare FSA. You can't do that. If you're contributing to HSA, that kicks you out of participating in a healthcare FSA, with one exception, that if you are enrolled in this limited expense healthcare FSA, that's only paying for dental and vision expenses, not your medical, you are allowed to contribute both to your healthcare, to your health savings account, your HSA, put in the full maximum to that, and you can put the full maximum into your what I call LEX, which stands for Limited Expense Healthcare FSA.
Gotcha.
You can do both. That's why I think people are a little confused.
That makes
expense.
Sense. That makes sense. So let's wrap it up with number 4. And myth number 4 is that because the use or lose provisions A healthcare FSA just doesn't make sense.
I beg to differ on that.
Differ away, brother.
The reason I beg to differ is because even for some reason you don't end up using the funds in your healthcare FSA. And believe me, Dan, I don't think there's any way possible you're going to end up not losing you're not going to end up using that money. Like I said earlier, there's no health insurance plan. There's no dental insurance plan. There's no vision plan. I don't care what plan you have. I know you have out-of-pocket expenses. I know you don't walk to the doctor. I know you don't walk to the dentist. I know you don't walk to your optometrist, ophthalmologist. You take transportation. Either you drive, you take the bus, you take the subway. You're paying for parking. You're going to be using funds in that healthcare FSA.
Sure.
But if for some reason you have money left over, let's say you have $500 left over and you're going to retire, because once you retire, you can't use that money. It can't be carried over. Are you going to lose that $500? Yes. Did you lose everything? No. Now think back over the past year. What tax bracket were you in? And you say, well, I was in a pretty high tax bracket. What's high? Oh, I was in a 35% federal marginal tax bracket. And what about your state? Oh, I live in a very expensive state. We have a high income tax. How much? 10%. Now let's do the math here together, Dan. How much money did how much in taxes did that $500 contribution to the person's healthcare FSA save in federal and state taxes? I'm going to take 45%. That's 35% plus 10%. That's a total of 45%. Let's do the math here together, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
If you take 45% of $500, I'm coming up with $225. That individual saved $225 by putting that $500 into that healthcare FSA. They didn't use it, but they did save $225. So it is worth it. It is worth it.
Gotcha.
That's my feeling. But everyone should make an attempt. Make every attempt before they retire from federal service. In the year they retire, or for that matter, if they are thinking about leaving federal service, they also are going to lose their health care money. Spend it. Incur the expenses.
Gotcha.
Before the day you retire. It doesn't take much.
Okay. That makes sense. All righty, Brother Ed. I don't know how you do it, but I'm glad you do it, and I'm glad you do it with us. I'm very grateful to what you bring to the federal community and to us at Serving Those Who Serve. So, as I always say, thank you for that.
My pleasure. It's always a pleasure helping the federal community. May I continue to do so.
Indeed. From your lips to God's ears. Well, folks, that's a wrap. We are Serving Those Who Serve. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast on our YouTube channel and Spotify. Check us out on Twitter and LinkedIn. Don't forget the live webinars every single week. Just go to swserve.com. You'll see the webinar button. Click it. It'll take you to the landing page. Sign up for one, sign up for all. The guru will come to you. Reach you where you are, teach you where you are, serve you where you are. Share that page with your friends. They will thank you. Be sure to read every week in the Fed Zone. That's fed-zone.com. And be sure to sign up for the weekly serving. Ed and all the Fed stars delivered directly to your inbox. As soon as you go to our website, there'll be a pop-up. You can sign up there. There's also a link attached to this YouTube channel. So closing out for Ed, the crew that's Serving Those Who Serve, and for me, Dan Sipe, I will close as I always do by saying good luck, Godspeed, and above all, remember, it's your Fed life, so make it a great one because you absolutely, positively, and without doubt deserve it. Stay well, everybody. We are out.
Thank you for listening to the FedLife Podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Serving Those Who Serve or Raymond James. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors Incorporated. Serving Those Who Serve is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services.
Raymond James is not affiliated and does not endorse the opinions or services of any of the quoted professionals or their respective firms. Any opinions are those of Dan Sipe and not necessarily those of RJFS or Raymond James. This case study is for illustrative purposes only. Individual cases will vary. Raymond James is not affiliated with and does not endorse the opinions or services of the quoted professionals or their respective organizations.
Neither Raymond James Financial Services nor any Raymond James financial advisor renders advice on tax issues. These matters should be discussed with the appropriate professional. Investing involves risk, and you may incur a profit or loss regardless of strategy selected, including diversification and asset allocation.